Welcome to my study today. I'm going to talk about the first conditional. That's the conditional that allows us to talk about things in the future which are probable. They may or may not happen. I'll also explain carefully how you can avoid the will trap in the if conditional clause, and there's an exercise for you to practice at the end. So, let's get started. The first conditional allows us to talk about open conditions. In other words, things which may or may not happen, which we could call probability. Look at this really good example. You use if plus the present tense plus the future. If I see him, I will tell him. So it's possible I won't see him. And if you learn that particular structure of this exact sentence, if I see him, I will tell him, it's a very good example to help you remember how the first conditional works. Here's another example. If we catch the 12 o'clock train, we shall arrive before tea time. Catch is a present tense, but it has a future idea here. And of course you could say this may or may not happen. We might miss the train. It's a possibility. Although this refers to the future, we do not use will in the conditional if clause. Some languages do, and I think students translate that directly into English, which is why we end up with the mistake of will in the if clause. We would understand you if you use that, but the problem is it does sound rather strange to a native English speaker. Can we use other tenses with the first conditional? Well, yes, we can. If we're talking about a remote probability, in other words, something that, it's just an odd chance that it might happen, but it's not really going to, we can use if, should, plus the future, like this. If we should miss the 12 o'clock train, we won't arrive before tea time. Another way of saying that, to make that a bit clearer, if by any chance we miss the 12 o'clock train, we won't arrive before tea time. Will and would can't be used in the if clause here. What about modal verbs? If plus the present tense plus may and might. Look at this example. If the fog gets any thicker, the plane may be diverted. And this is the sense of perhaps. It's a probability. It may not happen. Perhaps they might have to take this action. May can be used in a slightly different sense. For permission. If your passport is in order, you may leave. It's giving you permission to leave. And can works in a similar way. If it stops snowing, we can go out. Now you could look at that as we shall be able to go out, or we can go out because somebody has allowed us to do it. Permission and ability together. Here are some more variations of the first conditional. If plus the present tense plus must and should, and we use that for expressions of request, command or advice, like this. If you want to lose weight, you should exercise more. That's a kind of instruction, isn't it? If you want to lose weight, you had better eat less sugar, and that's advice. And here's a very common variation of the first conditional. If you see Tom tomorrow, could you ask him to phone me? A polite request. Could you ask him to phone me? You can use if plus the present continuous tense in the conditional clause to talk about a present action or a future arrangement. This could be applied to both. If you're looking for some good books, I'll loan you these. But this sentence is definitely future. If you're flying to Paris tomorrow, I'll ask my friend to meet you at the airport. And we can use if plus the present perfect. If you have written the letter, I will post it. So let's have a look at some situations to see exactly where you can use will in the if clause. Yes, I did say that. You can use will in the if clause. Here's the nurse, and she's speaking to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, if you will wait a moment, I'll phone the doctor. She could have said, if you would wait a moment. Now, why can she use will? Well, she's talking about the willingness of Mr. Smith to do something. She's making a request. Will and would here are not talking about the future. They are talking about the willingness of the person who is being spoken to. That's why you can use them in the if clause. Willingness also works like this. If John will tell me what he wants, I'll give it to him. It's not future, it's up to John. He may not want to tell me, in which case we have a negative. If John won't tell me what he wants, I can't help him. And this amounts to a refusal. And in both cases, the will and the won't are not talking about the future, which is why we can use them. And I'm sure you want to know about should, because that turns up quite a lot, doesn't it? This is for an unlikely situation. If you should find a mistake in the bill, please tell the waiter. It's referring specifically to the situation. It's not really talking about the future, and so you can use it in the if clause. And especially in business letters, to be very polite, we would say, if you should require further information, please contact me. And I think I need to point out that you can't use would instead of should here. You have to use should. So if you found my lesson interesting and helpful, could I ask you to please subscribe below and ring that bell? Thanks. Now let's have a look at some exercises to practice. I'll give you a hint. You're mostly going to use the word will. It's really to practice to get this right into your head so you don't make a mistake with these sentences. So don't think it's too easy, it's just very good practice. And if you would like to revise the zero conditional at the same time, I'll put a link below to my first video about the zero conditional. Exercise 1. Complete the conditional type 1 sentences. The answers follow. Exercise 1. Answers. In the next video, I'll explain the conditional sentence type 2, which allows us to talk about unreal conditions, like this one, if we caught the 12 o'clock train. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.